This is an extract from the Leader Coronavirus Daily podcast by the Evening Standard and hosted by me, David Marsland. To hear the whole thing, search for it on your podcast provider.
He is a German national. He's currently in a German prison for an unrelated matter. He's white. He's about 6 foot in height. He's 43 now. At the time he was 30, but he could have looked somewhere between 25 and 32.
Detective Chief Inspector Mark Cranwell describing a new suspect in the Madeleine McCann case. A 43-year-old man, named only as Christian B., is currently being held in jail in Germany for the rape of a woman in Praia de Luz in 2005. That's less than 2 years before Madeleine went missing in the same resort. Our editorial column says it may finally bring an answer to what happened to Madeleine McCann.
Not all deaths are equal. Some terrible crimes resonate through the years, while others, just as painful for the families of those who have suffered, barely attract attention. That's how it always is. Every country can tell stories like this. So new reports of a suspect this week in the McCann case are, understandably, a sensation. We now know a German man, currently in prison, is thought to have been in the area when Madeleine was last seen. Unlike many possible breakthroughs in the case, this one seems to have substance. The German police sound serious. All this must be investigated, but we should remember that confidence from the police is not the same as a conviction, and we should remember something else too. That although the case of Madeleine is one that has captured a nation's interest, it is still, at heart, the awful loss of a little girl whose parents have never found out what happened. Much as everyone else wants to know, they matter the most. Justice has no sell-by date, and they deserve an answer.
Our Home Affairs editor Martin Bentham has been covering the Madeleine McCann case from the very beginning 13 years ago. Martin, we've had a lot of leads and suspects over those years, and none have gone anywhere. How seriously should we take this one?
I think very seriously. Although there have been theoretical leads, there's never been a single person in focus in the police's attention in the way that this particular individual is. Media might have pinpointed certain individuals over the years and so on, but I don't think the police have ever quite done that. And so from their point of view, this is a very, very significant moment.
So what have police themselves actually said? What do we know?
What we know is that in 2017, there was an appeal in this country for information, the 10th anniversary of Madeleine McCann's disappearance in 2007. As a result of that, there was some information received. We don't know what that information was, but some information received about the person who's now the focus of the investigation. The Metropolitan Police received that information, then coordinated with the German police, who were obviously interested and were able to assist. They've been working very closely together, also with the Portuguese police to an extent, but particularly with the German police. And between them, they've reached this point where they have established a number of things. One is that, first of all, the man was living in the Algarve on and off, but most of the time from 1995 to 2007. Two, that he had a couple of vehicles which they're appealing for information about, a distinctive VW camper van and a Jaguar car. In particular, he received a phone call in Praia de Luz. He has been pinpointed to having been in Praia de Luz, the resort where Madeleine McCann disappeared from, on the night of her disappearance, and received a phone call from one of two numbers which the police are seeking information on only an hour or so before she disappeared. They've also discovered that he did in fact re-register the Jaguar car in the name of another person the day after Madeleine disappeared, and that they believe, the German police, this is the Metropolitan Police haven't given any details of this, but there's been some more information come out from the German side that he had a history of committing burglaries at hotels and so on, and that he was sort of leading a sort of drifting type of lifestyle in which he was supplementing some of that by criminal activity. And there's a theory, at least, that he broke into the McCann's holiday room and then opportunistically perhaps took Madeleine from that room. That's a theory.
Yeah, police had previously thought that this was an opportunistic moment, really, wasn't it? And that seems to have been this guy's modus operandi, doesn't it? He was doing opportunistic break-ins at hotels.
It seems that we don't really know a great deal about what he was doing. There hasn't been a huge amount of information. That element has come from the German police. As I said, the Metropolitan Police have given no indication at all about the man, really. We don't entirely know. We don't quite know what the motive was or anything else, or indeed, and we don't know clearly whether Madeleine is still alive or not. There's a difference here between the two investigations. The Metropolitan Police are still classing it as a missing persons investigation on the grounds that there is no evidence whatsoever either way as to what has actually happened to her. The German police are describing it as a murder investigation. I think this is probably just a difference in emphasis, in the sense in that the Metropolitan Police were keen to emphasise yesterday that there are cases where people turn up and are found having disappeared many, many years later. Obviously, logic would tell anybody that the likelihood is diminished every year that passes, every day that passes, unfortunately, very sadly. So what more information the German police might have that leads them to that conclusion, that they have been quoted, the officer leading the investigation has been quoted in a way which suggests they've done some investigation which points in that direction, that there is a murder that's taken place, unfortunately, but we don't know what that information is.
Given all the resources and the years that have gone into this investigation, how has this person only turned up now?
It's very hard to know. And on one level, I mean, of course, the problem for the Metropolitan Police and indeed the German police is obviously they were reliant on the quality of the investigation at the outset. It turns out the Metropolitan Police officer leading the investigation, Detective Chief Inspector Mark Cranwell, told me this morning that this man was quite sociable. He engaged with people and would have been known in the area. And his name had emerged before, but never as a potential suspect. But presumably, if that information wasn't there wasn't adequate detailing of who was around at the time, and so on. In the initial investigation, it becomes quite hard to track it afterwards. And of course, in many ways, it's a great tribute to them. They've managed to get to find this now, because clearly most people, I assume, would think that 13 years on, it would be very, very difficult, and that the horse has bolted, in a sense, in that, although of course there are many other cases that get solved with cold case reviews, new evidence being found and emerging, often DNA type evidence, of course, although in this case it's probably harder to obtain that, clearly because there is no, Madeleine has not been traced. And again, that all partly depends on the nature of what was taken at the time and how detailed the quality of the forensic investigation at the time of the actual incident.
Search for the Leader Coronavirus Daily on any podcast provider to hear more from the podcast.